What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Film Club Podcast. I'm S.
I'm Jared, and today we've got a special guest, Mr. Will Laterza.
Laterza.
Laterza, all right. You are, what'd you say it was, the video producer?
Yeah, so I'm a video producer for the Cincinnati Bengals.
So kind of walk me through some of that. How did that start? And then where did your career start, and how did you end up working for the NFL?
Yeah, so it's a pretty long, windy road for sure. I've been doing videos professionally, like making videos professionally for about 5, almost 6 years now. Coming, I think once when June hits, it'll be about 6 years for me. But it started out just, doing like paid internships, and then kind of stacking those experiences and using as leverage to do different freelance gigs, and then doing different full-time jobs eventually till the point where I hit the NFL. And this is going to be year number 3 for me in the NFL this upcoming fall. My second year at the Bengals, and then before that, I was with NFL social media. So
nice. Did you start in sports, or did you have like a love for sports, or did it just like work out this way?
Yeah, so it's always been like a dream job of mine to work in the NFL. I would say since I was like pretty young, I've always been really inspired by NFL films. That's like where I get a lot of my inspiration from. Just how they're able to tell stories. The shot selection they have is like actually insane. And when you take into account how quick things move on a football field and how much is going on, there's 22 dudes out on the field. That's a lot of different subjects you can have. It's just really impressive how they're able to get that. But how that originally started was, my dad's a huge Cleveland Browns fan, and before the Super Bowl era, the Browns are like, they were like the Golden State Warriors of the NFL. They went to like 11 straight championships, Jim Brown, Paul Brown, all that jazz. Like, it was a really dominant era of football for them. And that was like what my dad grew up with. That was like his childhood nostalgia. And for me, I didn't really care about the Browns too much growing up, but my dad would show me these old NFL films, documentaries, so I could see what his childhood was like and just how electric those games were. And although I wasn't like drawn particularly to the Browns, I really loved that storytelling aspect of it, and just how they can make me feel something that happened 50 years ago and like tell it and illustrate so beautifully and show the human interest stories behind these people that really didn't have like a platform for themselves back then. So
yeah. So your dad is a big fan of the Browns, and you're working for the Cincinnati Bengals. Has he disowned you?
No.
I know they're in the same division.
Yeah. So there is like a big, I guess, like rivalry between the Browns and the Bengals, because like the owner of the Bengals originally was the Browns head coach. The Cincinnati Browns were named after Paul Brown, and then he moved to the Bengals, or created the Bengals organization, and now his son, Mike Brown, owns the team. And it's been a long history for sure, and I don't think my dad's upset by it because we live in Cincinnati. Like, I grew up in Cincinnati, so I didn't grow up a Bengals fan per se, but he appreciates the tickets that I get him for the Browns-Bengals game every year, cool. And that was like one of the most full circle moments where it's like, this is really cool. Like, I can get my dad tickets to these games and see him and his buddies like relive, have good moments with each other just like they used to when they enjoyed Browns games when they were growing up. So that's a really full circle moment for me, and I'm really thankful I can provide those moments.
So what was it like for you? I guess you had asked the question. Was it something that you chased, like shooting sports, and like what was it like for you trying to get that job? Like, can you tell me a little bit about?
Yeah. So when I saw those like NFL films, actually, that was a little. I'm trying to get my seating right on this chair.
You got the more comfortable one.
Yeah, I'm blessed to have it. But when I initially saw those docs, like, it wasn't immediately like I want to be an NFL, videographer. It wasn't quite like that. It was more just like, oh, that's really cool, and it kind of sat ornately until I would say like 2015, 2016. I started seeing people on YouTube post these vlogs of them, making these, videos of them shooting NFL games, and like just like in general, the whole vlogging scene just blew up, right? So you're seeing these people that are cinematographers all over the space, you know, like Casey Neistat, for example. And you're like, as a, you know, at the time I was like 15, 16, I'm thinking like, I could do that for a living. Like if they can make these really impactful videos that, you know, make you feel a certain way while watching, I feel like I could do the same thing. And, you know, as well as, you know, when you're seeing people that do it shooting NFL games, you're like, if they're shooting on that camera, filming, you know, NFL games, I feel like I could work my way there eventually. So
What kind of cameras do they have you shooting on? Because I did pull up your Instagram and seen, it looks like you do have a couple different cameras on some of them, but then I did see you with an Arri.
yes,
Shooting with that.
yeah. So I'm not sure if it's Arri or Ari.
Arri,
That's like my boss says Arri, but I'm also like, I took like 2 years of German and I feel like it's pronounced Ari, but also I see like videos that they produce themselves and they say Arri. So it's
I don't even know how I pronounce it. I don't.
Yeah.
Even, I have to watch the footage back to know what I just said. I don't know if I said Arri. Or
yeah, it's yeah, but that's something that's always throwing me for a loop. But we have at the Bengals currently the team itself, like our production team, has been just expanding so rapidly ever since the Blackburn twins, you know, started taking over most of the operations, which is, for reference, it's Mike Brown's granddaughters. They start, you know, being more involved with the day-to-day operations of the Bengals, and they've just done wonders for like stadium renovation, for our day-to-day, you know, like production quality. Just like they know the presence that good production quality and social media can have. Especially for an entertainment business like the Bengals are in, like it's good to have a bunch of producers to tell these stories to these players, especially when you got great talents like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But to cut back to the equipment we have currently, even though it's expanding currently, we have 2 Arri Alexa 35s. We use some red stuff, like we have some red Raptors, we have a red Komodo X, and then we also have 3 Blackmagic Ursas, Ursa G2s, and then we also use Sony A1s, and that's like if we need something really run and gun, we shoot on that for photos and video as well. So
very cool.
That's crazy. So what does like a day-to-day there look like, especially with all that firepower? Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys producing?
yeah, so right now it's the off season, so it's a lot more chill. But most of it was prepping for free agency to come up. We're currently in the midst of free agency right now. But like, you know, you got to make a lot of different videos depending on if a player leaves or some player re-signs. There's a lot of different possibilities. So you just try to be as well prepped as possible with, like, in case for some reason, if this player were to leave, get cut, or if this player were to re-sign, like, we have something ready. So the moment they sign, we have, like, you know, full dedicated video for them, full graphic, all that jazz. But yeah, it's mostly right now it's that. And then also we have a bunch of different features we roll out in the off season. So I can't tell you guys what my feature is right now, but there's a feature that I've been working on and will continue to work on. It'll come out sometime during the regular season. Every week we produce like a 30-minute weekly magazine-style TV show. It's called Bengals Weekly. And then we also produce, it alternates every single week. It's either our long-form documentary series called From the Jungle, and that's like behind-the-scenes, day-to-day operations of the team, very like in the moment. And then when we're not producing that or having that air that week, the following week we have our features that we make during the off-season. It's kind of supplement it. So we're not trying to make a, 20 to 40 minute length documentary every single week. You know, it gives us some time to breathe.
That was my next question that was coming your way was, what do they keep you busy during the off season?
Yeah. So it's mostly doing those features. And then also too, you got draft day content coming up. We have schedule release coming up as well. We normally do our media days during this time of year as well. It's normally during OTAs. Which is like in a month from now when players start coming back for optional practices. And we're like, hey, there's one day that everyone's going to have to show up. We're doing media day, get it all done then. But it's like it takes like a week to prep for that. And then afterwards, it takes like a week to pump out, 80 different player graphics, all the video content you need from that. And then also too, we spend a large part of our time rebranding for like our video boards, because like it's not just a social media game we have to focus on. It's not just a TV thing, because we produce stuff that's broadcasted. We also have stuff on a video board. Like, we're at the end of the day, people come here for games. They got to watch our games, and we got to have content on the boards for that too. So there's multiple different assets our videos go into, and then also like making our season commercials too for people to buy tickets, whether it be like the wait list, the season ticket members, or just like advertising certain games. We prep all that beforehand.
It's crazy how much goes into it. Like, you just don't really think about all that. Like, I would have never thought about all of that. And in fact, actually, I probably would have thought that like these are just freelancers or something, other production companies handling a lot of this, not like in-house media teams. It kind of reminds me a lot of like esports, the way all that works. It's like you're saying, it's like you sign a new player, you make a video about it, or a player leaves, you make a video about it, or a graphic, or it's like, how do we have content in between? And we have a big game coming up, time to promote it, or like we won, time to promote it, like all these different things. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, the correlation, because I don't really watch a whole lot of sports, to be honest. Like, I just started getting into football, but like I don't get excited about stats and trades, at least not now, because I don't know who the players are, but I do get excited about the media. And one thing I wanted to double back on, you were saying like growing up watching like sports documentaries, just like you enjoyed that. And it's like, as someone who doesn't really care much about sports, like I don't keep up with hardly any of it. I just watch it when I feel like it. There's nothing more exciting to me than like a good sports movie or a good sports documentary, like esports, regular sports, whatever. And like my biggest guilty pleasure is any boxing movie, like period. And I think it's just like something to do with sports and like the grittiness of it, like Friday Night Lights type thing, or Remember the Titans or whatever. It's like, I don't know. You like, there's just something to love about like the media behind sports whenever it comes to like these storylines, these players, how long NFL has been around, or just football in general, and like all that. So I don't know. That's really dope to like get that perspective of like what you guys do on a day-to-day to tell these stories, to keep it alive.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of parallels for sure, especially when you're talking like esports to regular sports. Like, I grew up watching a lot of esports documentaries as well. It's like a big reason why I gained inspiration from, because I felt like they were always ahead of the curve with just representing their players, just content in general. Content sells. If you make good content, it's going to sell. And I've always been really inspired off of what they've been doing in esports. And in general, like you're saying, how you like the grittiness of it. I feel like with sports, and what makes it so alluring to me is it's the most realist and raw reality TV show you can get. Yeah. You know, with an NFL game, like, or just a football game in general, the emotions out there are real. Like, people like to say, oh, the NFL scripted, the players are like, they know they're going to lose beforehand. No, that's not true at all. If it was that case, that you wouldn't see the emotions of like players, like, you know, crying and just being really upset after games. They're not, you know, like that's just not how it works. But it's the most real and raw experience. Most of these guys spend their whole lives trying to master this craft. They come out of extremely different backgrounds, very different walks of life. And, you know, some like leave their families behind, not their families, but they leave their hometowns behind, and, you know, go make it big in the NFL and give back, you know? So it's really cool to see those real and raw stories come to life. But then that's also what makes it so fun capturing, is because like when they hit the highs, you really feel it. You know, you see all that hard work come to fruition. But when the times are getting tough too, you can see the determination they have when it comes to facing adversity and them just hitting it head on. And it's just like, you see the full cycle of emotions there, and you can't really script it like you can with a, you know, reality TV show. There's no post-production editing. What you're seeing on the TV live is live, and thousands of people are there to watch it.
It's a little ridiculous that people think that something of that magnitude is scripted.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the video and you like what you're seeing, leave us a like, leave us a comment, make sure to support the podcast, and go follow us on Instagram. Back to the episode.
No, I wanted to know kind of the process on like the chase for you on getting into shooting for the NFL, because recently I was telling Jared about this as he's dying over here on camera. I had an opportunity to shoot for the XFL, for the Arlington Renegades, and I just didn't like the pay, to be honest. I was really considering the pay. I was like, I don't think it's going to be good pay based on like the stuff that I'm making. But I guess how was it for you? How hard or easy was it for you to like get in touch with them and to get that position that you were in? Because you said you started with social media in the NFL, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, like my first NFL job was I was a live content correspondent for the National Football League. I was like, if on game days you're wearing the black vests, you know, that's how you separate us. Like everyone that has a different colored vest, like has a different role. So like the blue guys are NFL Films people, the red people are broadcast.
Okay.
The white is usually like a club. You're part of some club. So now I wear a white vest because I'm with the Bengals, but I was a black vest because I was with League Media. And how I got that job was just kind of through social media, really. A lot of my jobs come through Twitter that I get, and you know, just happen to be I'm at the right place, right time. So I was told to apply in like July of it was 2022. I applied. They're like, hey, we don't need you right now. If anything, we might just have you as like a bench guy, which is like if one of the main shooters can't make it, then they'd bring me in. So they still have enough staffing for that game. But then one of the main guys in that market, Tej Patel, he moved from Dallas to New York, you know, and he transitioned markets to work for the Jets, as still in the same role as a live content correspondent. And luckily that door pretty much opened up for me. It was like a week before the season started. So it was really nice. You know, a week before then, I didn't think I had a job, you know, with the NFL. And then a week later, I was filming Tom Brady and the Cowboys week 1 Sunday Night Football. So it was a pretty crazy, like 10-day turnaround. So
yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask too, is like, aside from filming, what are the perks of just like getting to work for the NFL? Like, what is some just like dope stuff that you get to see or experience or get?
Yeah. So kind of as you mentioned earlier with the XFL, like pay can be very hit or miss in sports. Like league media is really valued. Like the NFL knows how much to value media, but there are a lot of sports jobs out there, you know, that don't really pay that well. Sports in general, like the salaries don't pay as much. The freelance gigs hourly does not pay as much as, say, if you work for a commercial or work for like a hospital. But I guess the main allure for me with staying in sports is once again that like real raw emotion. That's like my favorite thing is there's no better adrenaline rush than, you know, being in an arena full of 60,000 people and you don't know what's going to happen, but like it's your job to not only get the moment, but also figure out what the storyline is. You get to help tell these stories that these athletes, the staff, fans have, and get to relay that to a larger audience and to see people's reactions of, you know, whether it be like getting hyped up, laughing to a funny, you know, social video you made, or if you're crying because there's a sad moment in a feature you had or a documentary, or like, you know, just makes them really happy, makes their day, gives them a distraction from the everyday life. Like that's what is really rewarding to me. You know, we make videos for a living. We got to entertain people. And I think the best part about it is like on a game day when you have one of your videos go up on the the video board there.
That's sick.
And when you see one of your videos go on the video board and people are like getting amped up afterwards, or they have a literal like auditory reaction that you can hear funnel down the field, like that is such a rewarding feeling. So
yeah, especially seeing it on the big screen at the stadium. Like we've had moments where we've shot videos for companies and then like see it on YouTube, like in their video. We're like, like that's us, like that Leonardo DiCaprio moment. Yeah. Do you have like a favorite moment that you've had like working with the team, like something that really stands out? Like, wow, I did that
with the Bengals.
Yeah.
My favorite moment with the Bengals, without a doubt, was I think it was week 15 this past season. We played Minnesota at home, and I got to ride in a B-25 bomber plane over the top of the stadium, and it was like broadcasted live on the video board there, and it was easily one of the biggest like adrenaline rushes I had. It literally felt like I was in a World War II movie, just flying over top and having to crawl from the back seat of the plane to the gunner seat up top to get the
Is that the one where through the window where you're like
shooting through the window, you can see like the gun in front. So it kind of happened like spur of the week. One of our game day entertainment guys was like, hey, like we just got clearance to shoot video for this in this B-25 bomber plane that's going to fly over. Like everyone's going to be super pumped because it flies low and it's an old World War II plane, and you know it's really loud. That gets like everyone really hyped up during the anthem.
When they said that, did they tell you right away that you were going to do it, or was it kind of?
They're just trying to find who was the most expendable, and that happened to be me.
Okay.
Expendable in case that thing goes down.
Yeah, in case something goes wrong, you know, I'm the least liable one.
The show go on without.
Yeah.
Will, go ahead. Hop on in, Will.
So I definitely volunteer for that because I feel like that's literally like a once in a lifetime opportunity you get to get. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you imagine doing those moments. When you're in like a museum and you see that in your head, you're kind of imagining like, oh, what if it was like, what it was like to be in a World War II setting. That literally was like as close to reenactment as you can get. And
it's definitely sick.
And just one of the most adrenaline filled moments in my life. And afterwards the plane landed probably like at the end of the first quarter, and I got back to the stadium like right around halftime. It was either before halftime or right around halftime, and I got to just shoot at a game as normal after that. And I'm sure with you guys have decorated backgrounds shooting events and stuff, you get a little nerves when there's a big crowd there and there's a moment that, you know, if you miss that moment, you'll never be able to reshoot it. You know, you can't be like, cut, let's reassemble the set. Like, you got to get it in that moment.
Yeah.
So naturally I get a little bit of nerves from that. But surprisingly, with all the adrenaline that happened during that plane ride, like I was just so calm. Like it was like easily the calmest game I've ever had. Like nothing was a surprise to me. And I think that was just because I used all that adrenaline up in such a, I faced like the tallest of mountains that day in terms of what could go wrong, what to expect, just a completely new experience. That like everything after that was such smooth sailing. And that was probably one of the best games I had because I was just so like even keeled. It was pretty great.
That's really dope. What setup did you take up there with you?
Yeah. So, we used the Blackmagic Ursa G2, and then we had a 30-90 Ingenue lens, and then we had hooked up to that it's a DeGiro, which is like, it basically relays the broadcast, like the signal of your camera to like.
I was about to ask if it was live.
Yeah, so it was live. That's what it's like, basically a backpack you carry with you.
That's so sick.
And like a backpack with a big, you know, iPad screen device on it, and that's what relays the signal.
How far will that thing transmit signal?
So like we actually got it at like it's really impressive because it uses like 7 SIM cards, like cell phone cards. So it's really powerful. But like when we were up in the air, they were able to get signal of it. They were able to get signal of it flying over across. It was a little choppy at times, Grant, because all the phones that are in that stadium, there's a lot of bandwidth being spread across, but we normally have like, you know, there's usually, at least I was really surprised at the airfield that there was like no problems out there. Like they could see it miles and miles away. Wow. Like it was really impressive.
Able to talk to you the whole time?
Like, they weren't talking to me. They were just texting with me in the group chat. Like we use Microsoft Teams, so I was just getting like Teams notifications.
But like when you were up in the air, was it just basically like, hey, just focus on getting the shot and just know that we'll be cutting to you at some point, or were they like cutting to you, letting you know?
Yeah, so I was just getting a text like, like, yeah, you don't worry about being live. Like you'll be live pretty much right as you go over the stadium. So just before that, just get like B-roll and stuff. Like it was very simple texts coming back and forth. And then
did you get a little tally light to let you know when you were live, or no?
No, it's literally just like phone notifications.
You're
yeah,
just like, what's happening? Oh,
yeah. So occasionally I'll have to check. And I didn't have any like comms with the flight either, so there's just like a person that was there responsible to make sure like I was okay and like tell me when to go and stuff. But they got to the people at the broadcast booth, or we call it the like the Jungle Vision studio, which is like all the people that do the game day broadcast in-house at the stadium. They have like, you can see all the different feeds from all the cameras. I was one of those feeds that they saw, and they just like pulled it up on the side, and they're just like, it wasn't like showing on the the broadcast or in the stadium or anything like that, but they're just looking at it and like seeing me trying to army crawl through this little tunnel, and they're just like, oh man, Laterza's about to throw up here, like because they're seeing all the wobbling from that plane and just trying to move while several thousand feet in the air in an unpressurized bomber plane can be kind of disorienting. So yeah.
So how does like media distribution work there? So I guess what I'm asking is like, you go on Instagram a lot, you see people like posting all their cool football clips that they shot and this and that for all these teams. Are those people, are they working for a league and able to share that? Like, are you able to share what you post, or are the Bengals pretty tight? Like, hey, we own this strictly. Like, you don't share it till we share it type thing, or like?
Yeah, so there is some leeway with it. When I was with NFL Social, it was like they had a embargo. I think that's the right word for it. Embargo for like 7 days. Okay. So anything you shoot, the league has rights to use it for 7 days. They can use it whenever, but after that 7 days of when you shot it, you can post it.
Okay.
So
that's nice.
It makes it nice for people that want to dabble in content creation and like post their stuff on Instagram Reels or whatever, because it gives you 7 days to make a good edit or think of ideas that you can use with your footage that you got. But with the Bengals, we have like a content agreement, like, hey, like, don't abuse like our footage for your own personal gain. But like don't try to like beat us out in our postings. But personally, that's not really like my thing. I dabbled in it a little bit when I was like as a live content correspondent with NFL Social, but it just wasn't really like my thing. I didn't like feel any attachment to making content. I did it because I knew that it was like such a great opportunity for me. Like I don't want to just let that go to the wayside. Like, let me fully take advantage of this opportunity that I'm given to work, this really cool job. I owe it to myself because there's thousands of people, not thousands, but there's several people that would want to be in my shoes.
Of course, yeah.
So like, why not make those reels? I did it. I enjoyed parts of it, but like, it's really not my thing. So I don't really care to post outside of like portfolio stuff, really, like my Bengals content or just like my NFL content in general. It's just, yeah.
So you can use it in your end of the year reel, some shots, but if you're posting media day stuff before us, there's a problem.
Yeah. So you can post anything for like anything that's real or portfolio related. Like, that's really encouraged that you try to have the best portfolio you can. They really encourage that, but just like, trying to capitalize off of the Bengals, like, trying to, I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe it, but
like, you're using their brand and the position you're in to get yourself a step forward.
Yes, yeah.
Because I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb anyways, that you'll see it a lot, especially nowadays with content creation being the way it is that's like people who are unprofessional or like new in the space, they think that when they shoot it, they own it. And like, it's all scenario based, but the way that I look at it is whether I sign a contract or not saying who owns it, I look at it as like, if you paid me to shoot it, you own the right to use that footage before I do. And so it's like, if I when I'm at these eSport events, if I shoot a clip that just like is like a pop-off clip or something, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm not going to go run to my computer and post it to Twitter. It's like, I'm going to go run to the person who benefits from it the most. It's like, FaZe pops off. Oh, dude, FaZe, post this. Like, this is sick. Or whoever is employing me or whatever it is. And I think, like, it's just like you've got to find and kind of have this, like, what do you call it? Like, retrospective point of view of, like, when to do that. when not to do that, how to benefit yourself, and how not to take away from the people who are like paying you to do that.
Yeah, that's the right way to phrase it. I was trying to think of the words for it, but you put it exactly out there that, like, you know, the client is the Bengals. Essentially, it's their footage, even though you shoot it. Like, you know, you own the rights to do like portfolio stuff with it, but you can't be trying to compete with the company you're working under. Yeah. You know, the team comes first. You're making stuff for the team, not for you. So that's kind of where that lies. So
does the team give you access to, like, how much access do you have to players on your own? Is one thing, like, one of the selling points for the XFL when we were talking was that they told me that they give a lot more access to the players than the NFL does. So they're like, you're going to be flying with them when we're going to different games and stuff like that. What is it like in the NFL? What's it like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's plenty of access, right? That's one reason why I didn't stay with NFL Social and move to the Bengals, is because, like, you're in with the team, like your day-to-day operations. You know, I walk the floor down, and it's literally like player locker rooms and stuff. Like, our studio is right next to the locker room, the cafeteria, all that. So you're seeing guys come in and out all the time, coming in and out of meeting rooms, going to lunch, whatever. And ton of access there. You know, you're in the locker room, like, post-game, all that jazz. And you do a lot of different shoots with these guys. You know, when you're making features, obviously, you're going around to players to their hometowns. You're doing interviews with them and their families and all that. It's so fun. It makes really cool stories. And so, yeah, there's a lot of access there. I'm sure there are parts that, you know, the XFL has better, but I feel like, you know, all in all, the access is pretty good. And it gives us a lot of creativity and freedom to, you know, help tell their stories better and you know, make some really cool things happen for our fans.
So like you've worked with us a little bit in esports and stuff, so you kind of like get some of the basis of like how players work and don't work. You're so like post game, you're in there, you know, after a big loss, you know, are you guys filming these guys?
If there's a loss, we just like, we have to film like locker room interviews after. It's like sponsored content. But like, we're not like going in there filming like our guys being sad. Cause like there's kind of a level of trust that you build with these guys, right? Mm-hmm. Naturally, just cause you work for the Bengals, that doesn't mean that you have the right to just film everything. You know, it's building player relations, or relationships with these guys. You want them to know that when the camera's turned on them, that like they're going to be put in the best light. Now we do like film moments of, you know, what's the word? But just like them being, we do film those moments of sadness like on the field, but we're not going to take that to the locker room. Okay. You know, that's their private space. Okay. Whereas like someone like back when I was with NFL Social or like the NFL Films guys, they don't see them every day. They can, you know, they're owned by the league. They can go film all those moments because the league needs that to tell their story. But for us, like, we're trying to build a reputation with these guys that like, hey, you can trust us for anything, and you know, we're going to put you guys out in the best light. Like, we're not trying to get in your space when, you know, it's not really needed. Right place, right time. Read the temperature of the room. So
yeah.
How is it? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
How is it working with them? Are they pretty professional about it? Are they very understanding? Or do you have like some players who are like, yeah, let's do it, and you have some players who are like, Will, not right now. Yeah,
so definitely a good mix of both. You gotta keep in mind that like it's a huge locker room, so many people, different personality types, different walks of life, and some guys are just naturally great on camera. Some people know that they're entertainers. Like, you know, the league, even though they're playing football, like at the end of the day, they're being entertainers for people. So they're really great with that. Some people are just there to play football, and like, that's great. Everyone I've worked with at the Bengals, like every player I've worked with, all the staff, like they're all very accommodating for us. And even though that they're like, they don't want to be filmed or whatever, they're at least nice about it. They're not like mean of like, hey, like, don't film me right now. What are you doing? They're just like, hey, now's not the time. Yeah. It's really nice and professional that way. So.
Very cool. So I was going to say, because we've been touching on esports a little bit here, and that's where I met you. I think it was in Fort Worth, wasn't it?
No, it was HCS Arlington last year.
Was it Arlington?
Yeah. Yes. You were with FaZe.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was with FaZe because I shot with them in Arlington and I shot with them in Fort Worth. I could have swore it was.
I was not at Fort Worth. Okay, I was at Arlington.
Arlington. Yeah, they would definitely have been at Arlington. I was gonna say because you know what it's like working with the NFL, and then you also know what it's like working with a team. And so like in esports, you know, you're filming for your team, I'm filming for mine, I'm filming for FaZe, which is kind of like associating like the Bengals versus the NFL because Halo has their own set of guys there, and it's really simple working with them. You kind of know where to stay out of the way. Camera guys don't really talk to you; they just move around and get their shots what they need. But what's it like? I mean, you have the background working with the actual NFL. So like, what's it like working with the NFL, being on the team? Like, is there any, how do I say this? Like, is it difficult? Is it easy
to work with like the league guys? It helps that I was on the other side of the, camera, or I was like part of NFL league media and then went to the Bengals. But no, it's pretty simple. Like, I feel like in esports, like the guys don't, like camera guys kind of talk to each other, but not really. I feel like people more so talk, or I at least just make a point to try to meet people. That's how I met you. Just like if you see someone with a camera, just say what's up. You never know down the line what that could lead to, whether that's them not getting in the way of your shot for a moment or a podcast with two of you guys. So, it's like usually you kind of talk a little bit beforehand, or like you just generally know like, hey, don't get in front of the red vested people. Like they're the broadcast. You can't, at the end of the day, like you can't get in front of the broadcast. And then usually you're trying to kind of, when there's like moments of silence or whatever, like some downtime, you try to work with those other guys there, like, hey, I don't want to get in your shot, where are you trying to get, so I can good. Like work around you. So
good etiquette.
Yeah, so
great. It's a lot of like innate etiquette, but also like socialization too.
So a lot like the esports.
Yes. Yeah.
Or a lot.
Do you have you worked with anybody who doesn't have that etiquette? Like, have you? Or I shouldn't say people. Like, have situations where there's just like one guy on the field and he's like, I'm gonna get my shot. I don't care.
No, not really. I've definitely felt those moments, like when I've like worked in, like collegiate sports, and there's a lot more, like limitations on the field. Like in college games, everyone shoots from the same line, but like on the sidelines. But in an NFL game, there's like a dotted yellow line and a dotted white line. The white line is where everyone shoots from, but the dotted yellow line that's in front of that, it's like 2 feet in front. That's where films and like broadcast people sit. So you kind of just know that etiquette, like, hey, don't like cross your line, don't like get in other people's stuff, and like when the game's over, just like be courteous of others around you. So
it's interesting.
I know we were going to be talking about the Bengals a lot, but I was kind of hoping we'd touch a lot more on esports stuff. How long have you been doing, like, how long have you been shooting esports stuff or interested in it?
I've been interested in it since like I was 15, 16 or so. That's like one of the big reasons why I like come out to these events and try to, cover these things. Cause I always dreamed of being able to, not only shoot in the NFL, but also like I see like a lot of people make vlogs related to esports content, like make documentaries on esports stuff. And I always thought like, man, I could really do that one day. And so I feel like I owe it to like 16-year-old me to go achieve those things, because I still find it like super cool, super fascinating. And now that I know what it takes, and now that I have the connections that I do, like, why not do it when it's convenient for me to? Like, my first event was HCS DreamHack. It was 10 minutes from where I lived in Dallas at the time. And I'm like, I'll try to find whoever I can to get myself in there, because that's such a cool opportunity. It would dread me more to just like show up as a fan, or to not be able to go to that event at all when it's 10 minutes away than, get like a free credential or whatever and shoot that way. So, I just, I've only been doing it for 3 or 4 events. I really enjoy it. I like the, I feel like it's always really cool to go film for like in a career adjacent industries. Cause like you see how so many people shoot. Like I'm seeing at the wizardry that Jared was putting up this weekend when we were editing at a HCS Arlington. I was like, it gives me so many more ideas that not only I could use in the esports scene, but I could use in other things I do. So I think it's always really good to, if you have the opportunity to, and it works out for you with your time, like logistically, with financially, go try to do those things you always dreamed of doing, because it's always really cool to not only like have that satisfaction of like, hey, I achieved like something I always thought would be a really cool thing to do, but also it's really good to network with other people. You know, you can never have enough networking, connections in your corner, but also seeing their inspiration, because everyone shoots differently. Just like, the players that we're filming have various different walks of life. Like the people that are shooting those players they have very unique stories themselves. They see shots differently. So it's really cool to study off them and ask questions. Like when I first saw you, I was asking a ton of questions on a Friday, just how you're doing things with loose and all that. So I think it's just really beneficial to do that.
Yeah, that's very cool. When I first got into it, I got into it because of him, because you were shooting for Space Station, and the face hit you up, right? And then he had sent him my way because I think you were out in.
Yeah, I was doing I couldn't take it. Yeah, I can't remember the whole logistics, but yeah, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, when I went, it's a whole new world, man. It's a whole new world. I knew nothing about it. Yeah, I did. I definitely did. My first gig was with Valorant, and it was in a small. They were in a small room, and I wasn't able to film them in the room, and so I had to wait for them to come out, and they lost. So they just walked out, and that was it. It was like, that was the end of the day. That was my first, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this.
Yeah.
But then I ended up doing Rocket League, and then I ended up doing Halo, and I enjoy Halo a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I love esports. I've loved it for so long, and it's like probably the way you feel about traditional sports is how I feel about esports. I wish though, and I know it's evolving, but it's like, if I could just have like unprecedented access to like a team or a player or like a storyline that I wanted. And I think if the players understood exactly how you're saying a while ago, to like trust us, like I'm not here to make you look stupid. Even if I catch something on camera, it's like it can be cut out. It's like whatever, like just let us capture these moments and tell the story. Because I just think of it from a point of view where it's like, let's say you bow out last place at this event and you're crying because like that was the last thing you thought was going to happen. And then a year later, you're a world champion. It's like, that is such a powerful storyline to like let us tell. And I don't know if I would want somebody filming me crying personally. So it's like, I get it. Yeah. And
do it on the field, but maybe not so much like behind closed doors.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to follow. And it's like, again, we don't go following them into like, if you can just tell, right? Yeah. You just got to be
read the room
sometimes and turn the camera off and read the room. Yeah, exactly, and understand. And honestly, too, if you're with a team long enough and you're doing that rapport is gonna get there. And later on, dude, that they're gonna trust you more. When I worked at the Rainbow Six Siege team, I was with them for 2 years, and it was like that. Over time, it just like built up this thing, and it's like, me asking them to do something was never an issue, ever. It was just like, Jared, sometimes at the events, they would ask me, like, Jared, what do you need for this event? Do you need interviews, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. Win or lose, like, defeated, they'd come up to me like, hey, can we just do that interview real quick? And I was like, once you get to that point, it's so nice. Like, it just kind of humanizes everybody. Like, they know I'm trying to do a job. They're doing it.
They know they got to get it done, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, we can all work together and, like, just make this thing cohesive.
It's just a process of trust. And people... Not really as much in our space. So if I'm talking to, random people or friends of friends or something, I mentioned that I work for the Bengals. They're like, oh, like, how are these people like? Or like, oh, you get all this access. Do you hang out with the players all? No, I don't. I don't really, at the end of the day.
My budget's different than theirs.
Yeah. Yeah, not like that. But at the end of the day, it's just like, they're just people. Like, treat them like human beings. Like, respect their time, their presence, like read the temperature of the room, build that respect, that trust of like, it takes time, just building trust with anyone takes time, especially when someone's like career livelihood's kind of like on it because they're, an athlete or, the professional you're filming. You got to build those relationships, that trust. And at the end of the day, they're just normal human beings too. So read the room, be respectful of their time. They're going to be respectful back to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much good motto to live life by. So
Sure,
Yeah.
Respect people.
I already got your best moment from shooting with the Bengals. Do you have a best moment shooting esports?
Yeah, it actually just happened yesterday. Filming like Eco and Legend at SSG win their first major championship in Arlington. The trophy raise and all that jazz was probably like some of the best shots I've seen. I was looking at Eco raise the trophy one hand. I'm like, oh man, like that's cold. Like that's a really good shot.
Where were you at for that? Where were you for that one that happened?
I was like right below in the pit, so like I got the front angle of it. I mean, send it to you guys if you want to throw it in post. But that's that was one of those where it's like that's maybe like one of the best shots I've gotten. So
Yeah. That's sick, dude.
Yeah.
And also too, just like your team being in a championship setting, like you feel the moment, especially against like the home team, like in Optic. Like you just felt like every time things weren't going your way, you could feel the fans like eating at you. Mm-hmm. I got those like same pregame nerves, like where it's like it's us against the world type thing, and it was
very stressful.
Yeah, but it was so rewarding, so rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess the last question I have before we wrap up is for anybody trying to break into sports, NFL, XFL, whatever, just sports in general. Do you have any tips on like what those steps might look like for somebody trying to? Yeah,
so this could honestly be a little bit of time because I feel like there's multiple things we could talk about with it, but I feel like at the end of the day, like it's been, I've been in the NFL I've completed 2 seasons now, but I've been doing this for 3 years before that. 3 years prior to it took me to get there. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Work at your own pace where you can just show up, day in, day out and like be able to focus on what can I do better. I'm not much of I grind at work. Like I work hard when I'm working, but I'm not one of those guys that can work around the clock. If I do, I'm going to burn myself out. So know where your limits are and burning yourself out, and do, obviously try to avoid that. Do what you can just every day that you're working to be like, okay, what can I do just to improve one little thing? What's like one thing I can learn? Just take it day by day. Or even if it's not something that you learned like physically, like with the camera or in an editing software, like what's one person I can learn something from? Who's someone that I could reach out to, network with? I feel like now we have such great tools with like Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, what have you, to where you can just network with anyone now. If you see a cool video online or something that inspires you, you can find the person that did it, reach out to them, pick their brain a little bit. Use those tools to your advantage. Just build off that networking and use not only the experience you get, the leverage you get, or not only the experience you get and the people you meet along the way, but use that as leverage to get the next gig, and keep building that up over time. And just if you have a dream, go chase it. And that's kind of how you should do it. So
absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man, for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Taking the time to do this. I know you got to get a flight on out of here. But it's been nice having you. I hope everybody that's watching has learned some things. Is there anything else that you want to say? Social media. Yeah.
Instagram handle is, I don't even know what my Instagram handle is. I think it's just it doesn't matter. But
we'll put it right here. We'll put it right there.
It doesn't matter, but really appreciate you guys having me on. It really means a lot. So.
Make sure you guys tune in for the next episode. If you guys want to leave a comment down below who you guys want to see on this next podcast, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Welcome to the club.